Recently, I had someone ask me, what is the key to getting yourself to do the things that you wish you would? And this was my answer. Hi, welcome back. My name is Brianna, and I blend science and spirituality to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. So recently, I had someone ask me, what is the key to getting ourselves to do the things that we wish we would? And while I wish there was one main key that could solve all of our problems, that's just not how life or how humans work. So while there is no one main thing that I would answer this question with, there are four things that I personally think really help with getting ourselves to do the things that we wish we would. So let's dive in. Number one is learning how to better work with your own mind. And what I mean by this is learning how to better work with your own thoughts. And this includes building the skills of having more awareness of your thoughts and what's going on in your head, knowing that your thoughts aren't fact or truth, being able to relate to your thoughts differently and see them as something more arbitrary rather than taking it on as truly you, being able to shift your thoughts and focus, and being able to think in general just far more flexibly. This is arguably the most important one because what goes on up in here plays such a massive role in what we do. So if we can get out of our habitual thought loops, if we can learn how to better direct our own thoughts or reframe or shift our thoughts, if we can change our own internal dialogue to thoughts that actually help us take action, then we're going to be in a far better spot to actually get ourselves to do the thing, especially when we don't necessarily feel like it. So for example, let's say you would love to get yourself to clean up in the kitchen after you eat dinner, but you tend to find yourself lounging on the couch until it's time to go to bed. Being able to better manage your own mind could look something like noticing your thought in your head, saying something like, I know I should go clean up the kitchen, but I really don't feel like it. Noticing that, acknowledging it, and then responding to yourself and saying something like, it's only going to take me 5 to 10 minutes. It will feel so good when I'm done. It will feel so good to wake up tomorrow morning and come out to a clean kitchen. So I'm just gonna go do it. Or another example could look like, let's say you had planned to do a leg workout today, and usually that whole endeavor takes you like an hour and a half. But something happens and you no longer have that amount of time available to you today. And normally you would maybe completely scrap that and just not do anything that day. And you recognize those thoughts coming up and how that's your instinctual reaction. And so you catch that and you go, okay, wait a minute, I can still do something. I still have 30 minutes to go do a portion of my workout. I still have 30 minutes to go on a walk. I can still do something even if I can't necessarily stick to my original plan. There are a lot of ways that you can start building your skills around being able to better manage your own mind, but the first few things that I would recommend starting with is just having more awareness of what's going on in your mind, what thoughts are going through your head, and recognizing how your thoughts are playing a role in what you're doing. And then from there, just playing around with, okay, how can I switch my thoughts into a thought that helps me actually take action? Number two is setting up structures or routines or making tweaks to your environment to help you actually do the thing. Basically, how can you make it easier for yourself to do the thing? Our environment has a huge influence on our actions, and your current environment might be supporting habits and behaviors that you don't necessarily want yourself to have right now. But on the flip side of that is that we can make tweaks to our environment that better support and help us do the things that we wish we would. For example, I really wanted to start reading before bed, but I really struggled to stick with that until I got a bedside table and a lamp. The lighting and the whole situation around that just made it so much easier to actually do that action and in a comfortable way without me coming up with different excuses to avoid it. As another example, I have a system where I always have some form of protein, carb, and veggie cooked so that I always have meals ready to go. So if I'm ever tired or don't feel like cooking, I always have something that I can just heat up. And that helps me stick to healthy eating so much more than I would if I didn't have this system. And when it comes to the thing that you wish you could get yourself to do more often, ask yourself, What kind of system, routine, or change to my environment could help me do this more easily? Sometimes the answer to this might be really obvious. You might know that you are far more likely to stick with your goals of working out if you went before work than if you plan to go after work. You might know that you're more likely to eat at home if you already have meals cooked and prepped in your fridge. But other times the answer isn't so obvious. And this is where we can get into just a little bit of trial and error and just paying more attention to your own behavior, starting to notice what helps you follow through with doing certain things and what tends to happen to stop you from doing certain things. And then once you find what really works for you, you can start creating routines and systems and making tweaks to your environment to help you follow through with taking these actions more often. Number 3 is changing your self-perception. If you believe that you are lazy, unhealthy, have no willpower, if you believe that you can't change, then we're probably not going to get very far. Changing our identity can shift what we do and how we show up. We tend to be motivated to act in accordance with our identity, so if we change our identity, if we change our self-perception, then we can really help ourselves change what we do. For example, let's say that you want to improve your eating habits, but you view yourself as someone who really doesn't like eating healthy or really struggles to eat healthy. If that is the perception that you have of yourself, you're probably going to find it more difficult to stick with healthier eating habits and might find yourself continuing to fall back into your previous eating behaviors. So the question becomes, how do I start to change my identity? Well, our thoughts hold a lot of power, and once we realize that, we can see how we can start actively choosing to see ourselves differently, to, in a way, create a new narrative for ourselves. While historically we may not have had the healthiest eating habits, that doesn't mean that we can't be a new version of ourselves in the present or future. We may have some habits and beliefs that we're going to have to put in effort to change, but we can choose to see ourselves differently. We can say, this is who I am now. This is how I'm choosing to now see myself. We can choose a new narrative or story to have about ourselves, regardless of what maybe anyone else thinks or says about us. Think about that action that you want yourself to follow through with and see yourself as that person. See yourself as the person who does that thing. Envision yourself doing that thing. And you can even do a thought exercise where you ask yourself, okay, if I was this version of me, what would I do? What decision would I make? What decision or action is aligned either with the person who does that thing or with the type of person I want to be? And number 4 is understanding yourself better. What works really well for one person isn't going to be what works well for another. So really taking time to pay more attention to yourself, to learn about yourself, and trying things out will help you find approaches that actually work really well for you. And finding approaches that work well for you is going to be how you get yourself to do the thing more often. This may take some time, awareness, reflection, and trial and error, and depending on your situation and what the things are that you're trying to get yourself to do more often, these things are most likely going to be necessary. Through more awareness and reflection, you'll really be able to start seeing what works well for you versus what doesn't. And that will help you start to understand yourself better as well, which will help inform how you can do things in ways that work really well for you in the future. As you pay more attention to your thoughts and behaviors, you may realize that telling yourself to get up and go clean the kitchen doesn't work out really well for you, but gamifying it and telling yourself, okay, I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes and just see what I can get done in that time actually gets you to go do it. You may learn that even though you tell yourself, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and you have full intentions, you truly believe yourself when you say that, you can look back and think and realize every time I tell myself I'm going to do it tomorrow, I don't end up doing it. So let me go ahead and just take care of it right now. You'll find what kind of thought tactics work for you. You may find that telling yourself, I really want to be the person who is consistently working out helps you take action. You might find that thinking about things in the future, knowing that you really want to Be a healthy version of yourself for your kids helps you take action. You may find that throwing on some motivating music is what helps you the most. Or you may find that just turning everything into a vibe and making everything exciting is what works best for you. And just lastly, on this note, as you bring more awareness to yourself and to your thoughts and your own actions and behaviors, you'll start to pay more attention to and pick up on what your typical excuses are, even the really sneaky ones that feel really believable. And from there, you can start lovingly calling yourself out on your BS. It would be great if the answer was simpler, or if just starting to have an intention to do something led us to just go do the thing. But typically, changing our typical patterns and habits takes intention, effort, and repetition. So give yourself compassion, allow yourself to be human, and start showing up for yourself in the ways that you want to. So to give some quick action steps here, pay more attention to your thoughts and notice how your thoughts impact your actions and behaviors. Make one small change to your routine or your environment to make the thing that you want to follow through with easier to do. Notice the stories that you tell yourself about yourself and decide to tell yourself a new narrative. And lastly, spend 10 to 20 minutes in reflection and answer the question, what are the things that I am really good at showing up to, that I'm really good at following through with, even when I don't feel like doing it? What helps me do these actions? What helps me follow through with these actions, especially when I don't feel like it? And then you can take your answers from that to help better inform how you could use those same tactics for other actions. All right, that is all I have for you today. I would love to hear what you found most helpful, so you can just leave that in the comment section. If you want to see more content like this or to support my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.